The vote count was already on the board when I walked in. Not a rumor, not a whisper passed through back channels, the actual count, displayed in open session on the Compact's own procedural register. 91 delegates in favor, 4 abstentions, 2 opposed. The motion to reclassify Earth as a non-signatory subject species had the numbers before presiding Consul Non had even called the chamber to order. Somebody had wanted me to see that. Somebody had arranged for the tally to be visible from the human table before the doors closed behind me. I set my case on the table, found my chair, and sat down. The grand session hall of the Verath Alignment Compact was built for exactly this kind of moment. A chamber designed to make the species standing at the center of a proceeding feel small. The tiered seating curved upward in 3 concentric rings, each row occupied by robed delegates from the Compact's 31-member species, their faces turned down toward the floor where the human table sat alone. The holographic procedural display glowed cyan above the central dais, projecting the session agenda in the Compact's formal script. Item 1. Dissolution of Adjudicator Charter 7 Theta Solis. Item 2. Formal reclassification, Terran species. Item 3. Transfer of Terran treaty obligations to the Compact's Supervisory Bureau. 3 agenda items. They had expected to finish by midday. Presiding Consul Non was a tall figure, gray-robed, with the slow, deliberate movements of someone who has conducted 1,000 sessions and found each one beneath them. They opened the proceeding with the standard invocation, a ceremonial affirmation of the Compact's legal continuity going back 412 years, and then began reading the motion aloud. It was a long document. The Compact's legal architecture always was. Every phrase cross-referenced 6 other clauses. Every clause was nested inside a subsection, that was itself nested inside an article, that was itself subject to a charter ratification that predated the session by decades. I had read all of it. Every line, every nested clause, every cross-reference going back to the original ratification. I had been reading it, in fact, for the 11 months since the motion was first lodged. The hall was not quiet in the way empty rooms are quiet. It had the specific silence of a chamber full of people who believed the outcome was settled. 91 delegates. They had moved methodically, built the coalition carefully, timed the session for a Thursday when 3 of the 4 Council of Observers members were scheduled off station. It was professional work. I did not underestimate them for doing it. I just disagreed with their count. The reading of the motion took 40 minutes. When Consul Non finished, they looked down at the human table the way a magistrate looks at a defendant who has already confessed. The first opportunity for respondent address was offered and I declined it. A murmur moved through the upper tiers, some surprise, mostly satisfaction. They had expected me to argue. They had prepared for an argument. A thick counterbrief, 17 procedural objections, a motion for delay. There were delegates in that room who had rehearsed their responses to things I might say. I said nothing and poured a glass of water. The procedural session moved forward. The Compact's Advocate General, a compact-bodied being called Senior Arbiter Thesavon, rose to deliver the formal technical case for reclassification. It was careful, thorough work, 40 minutes tracing the specific articles under which humanity's adjudicator charter had been issued, the grounds on which a supermajority could dissolve it, the legal standing of the reclassification under Compact Statute 44, subsection 9. I took notes. Not because I needed them. Because it is easier, in a room full of people watching for signs of distress, to give them something to interpret. They interpreted the notes as desperation. I watched them do it, a small shift in posture across the upper tiers, a collective settling back. She's writing down arguments she hasn't thought of yet. She knows it's over. Senior Arbiter Thesavon concluded. The chair offered a second opportunity for respondent address. I looked up from my notes. "I'll take it," I said. The chamber stilled. 91 delegates who had been comfortable became 91 delegates who were paying attention. I did not stand. I set my pen down, folded my hands, and spoke at a conversational volume. The presiding consul read Article 7 of the Dissolution Statute, which governs the grounds for reclassification. I'd like to read a different article, Charter Article 31, subsection D. I had the text in front of me, but I didn't need it. A session of the Verath Alignment Compact convened for the purpose of dissolving an adjudicator charter shall be considered legally operative only if the charter holder has been afforded not less than 1 standard year of formal notice, calculated from the date of lodgment to the date of vote, under conditions of full procedural standing. Any session failing to satisfy this condition shall be void ab initio, and no motion passed therein shall carry legal force. I let the silence do its work. The motion was lodged 11 months and 9 days ago, I said. A standard year is 11 months and 29 days in compact reckoning. You are short by 20 days. Consul Nan's hands had stopped moving. The vote has not been called yet, I said, which means the session is not void yet. If you call the vote today, it becomes void the moment the tally is recorded. Every motion passed in this session will be legally inoperative. The reclassification, the transfer to the Supervisory Bureau, the adjudicator charter dissolution, none of it will have occurred under the Compact's own statute. Your 91 votes will be 91 votes for nothing. I picked up my pen. If you adjourn today, you can refile the motion with a corrected lodgment date. You would need to rebuild the coalition in 20 days, which is a tighter window than the 11 months it took to build it the first time. Some of those 91 votes may not hold. That is not my problem. The chamber had the specific quality of a room where everyone is doing arithmetic at the same time. 91 delegates checking, individually and in quiet conversation with their neighbors, whether I could possibly be right. I watched the calculation move through the tiers the way a weather system moves, a visible front of discomfort rolling upward from the lower seats. Senior Arbiter Thesivon was already at the procedural register. I watched them pull the Compact's ratification archive, navigate to Charter Article 31 and read. Their posture changed halfway through the subsection. It did not change dramatically. It changed the way a person's posture changes when they step on a stair they did not know was there. Presiding Consul, Thesivon said. Nan's voice when it came was flat. I see it. The charter article had been written 412 years ago. In the same original ratification consul Nan had invoked at the opening of the session to affirm the Compact's legal continuity. It had never been amended. It had never been revoked. It had, in all the years since, never once been relevant. Because in 412 years no adjudicator charter holder had ever let a dissolution motion run 11 months and 9 days without flooding the chamber with counterbriefs, legal objections, and desperate procedural delays. I had let it run on purpose, counting the days. Consul Nan looked at me from the dais. I met their eyes. I did not smile. The session is adjourned, Nan said. The hall emptied in pieces. Some delegates left quickly. Others stood in small groups in the aisles, talking in low voices, not looking at the human table. Senior Arbiter Thesivon walked out without speaking to anyone. The procedural display above the dais cycled through its shutdown sequence, the agenda items disappearing one by one, the cyan light dimming, the tally of 91 votes going dark. I finished my water. I gathered my notes and put them in the case. The thing they had not understood, the thing they had built into the charter themselves and then forgotten, was that the adjudicator charter was not just a leash. It was also a set of teeth. They had handed it to humanity because they wanted an instrument they could direct. What they had not considered was that an instrument smart enough to be useful is smart enough to read the document that created it. I walked out through the main doors. No one stopped me. No one spoke to me. The refiling window was 20 days. They would not make it. 3 of the 91 votes were contingent on the session completing before a trade negotiation window closed at the end of the month. I knew that because I had read those delegates' public position statements, all of which were filed in the Compact's own archive, accessible to any adjudicator charter holder. I had been an instrument they built. I had read everything they wrote. Outside, the station concourse was ordinary foot traffic, low light, the smell of recycled air. I found a bench and sat down. They would refile eventually. They usually did, and when they did, I would find the next clause. There is always a next clause.